Hey everyone, we are up to lesson 52. That means that if you've been faithfully doing one lesson a week, then this is where you'd be after 1 year. I'm guessing that's probably not the case for most of you. It's certainly not the case for me, but we got here. And there's still some more to go, obviously. So yeah, let's do lesson 52. This is related to the previous lesson, but in the previous lesson, we did the comparative. Now we're going to do the superlative. So it's basically this again. It's the same as in English. In English, you have something like big, bigger, and biggest. So the comparative is bigger. This thing is bigger than that thing. And superlative means the most of something. So the biggest, the fastest, the heaviest, whatever. And there are a couple of ways of doing this in Russian. One way is to use the word samый, which is conjugated according to gender. So here it says, мой ребенок самый умный, самый красивый, самый-самый. Он просто лучший. So this person's saying, my child is the самый умный. Now, умный means smart or intelligent, and самый basically means most. So this person's saying, my child is the most intelligent, самый красивый, most beautiful or attractive, and then finally, самый, like the most, which I don't think you can say in English. You can't really say, my child is the most. But I don't know, it sounds like something that would be good for a marketing phrase. Somebody should get some marketing department to get on that phrase, because it seems like that would be a good advertising slogan. It's the most. Он просто лучший. He's just the best. So, this is one common way to do it in Russian. I think this is the more common way to do it in Russian, to use the word samый or samaya if it's feminine, or samoy or whatever if it's something like samoya if it's neutral. So the most something. But there is also a superlative form that uses just one word, which changes the ending of the adjective. Like here you can see, это самый старый человек в мире. This is the most old person in the world. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is это старейший человек в мире. So старейший means oldest. So you can say this is the most old person in the world, or this is the oldest person in the world. Both of them work. Both of them are correct. So let's go ahead and I'm just looking at this woman in the middle, so I'm going to assume that this is a man or a male, and these are two women or females. This woman here in the middle really looks like she has a mustache, like, a little thin mustache, pencil mustache over her mouth, but I think that is her mouth. I think they've just drawn her mouth to be, she's kind of pursing her lips in dubiousness, and it looks a little bit like a pencil mustache. But anyway, okay, let's see what these three people have to say.
А я говорю, что Пушкин величайший поэт.
А я говорю, что Шекспир величайший поэт.
Почему это?
Пушкин, самый первый в России, начал писать на нормальном русском языке, который могли понимать все русские. Раньше дворяне, как самый высокий класс, говорили только по-французски.
А французский философ Вольтер назвал Шекспира гениальнейшим варваром.
Он варвар, а не поэт.
Он написал обо всех важнейших событиях своего времени.
И Пушкин тоже.
Не спорьте. Пушкин – величайший русский поэт, а Шекспир – величайший английский поэт. Хорошо?
Ладно, согласен.
Мы еще поговорим потом.
So, I don't know if people still have these kinds of conversations in Russia today, but it wasn't that long ago these kinds of conversations were common, more common in the Eastern world, where people would actually fight about how great their poets were. But, excuse me, anyway. So, the first person says...
А я говорю, что Пушкин величайший поэт.
So the word here is величайший. So the word великий or something like that means great in the sense of, saying Pushkin was a great poet. Not in terms of quality necessarily, but just in terms of fame and splendor and grandeur and whatever. So this person's saying, and I say that Pushkin is the greatest poet. You could say самый великий, but here they've chosen to use the other form, величайший poet.
А я говорю, что Шекспир – величайший поэт.
So once again, the same word, величайший poet, but of course the sentence differs in that the first person said Pushkin and the second person said Shakespeare, obviously Shakespeare.
Почему это?
Why so?
Пушкин, самый первый в России, начал писать на нормальном русском языке, который могли понимать все русские.
Okay, interesting. So Pushkin, самый первый, the most first in Russia, who began to write in normal Russian language, which could understand all Russians. So Pushkin was the first in Russia to write in the normal Russian language, which all Russians could understand. The formation here, самый первый, strikes me as a bit strange because it literally means most first. Now, that's basically, it's like, how sometimes in English, people, especially not native speakers of English or children, will say something like, this is the most biggest. Well, you can't have a most biggest. Either something is the biggest or it's not. It can't be biggester than another biggest thing. Germans, there are some Germans who make a similar mistake. Some Germans say, das ist das einzigste, which literally means it's the onlyest, which of course can't exist. Something can't be onlier than the only thing. But some Germans, instead of saying das ist das einzige, they'll say das ist das einzigste. This is an example where Russian sort of resembles what native English speakers stereotype as uneducated English. We'll see another example in there's a lesson in the not too distant future, I think just a few lessons ahead of this one, about using negation. And we'll see in that lesson how sometimes double negation in Russian works correctly. Like, for example, in Russian, if you say nothing's working, you could say nothing's not working, which in English would be a double negation and obviously sound incorrect or sound like somebody's very uneducated, but in Russian it's correct. And so also here you can say Pushkin was the most first. Well, you can't have a most first. Either they're the first or they're not. But yeah, it's sort of it's just a Russian construction. It's just how you can say things in Russian, but of course it sounds strange to native English speakers. But anyway, so this person's saying, yeah, Pushkin was the first to write in normal Russian. Those of you who have read War and Peace will probably remember, oh, actually they say it, that this person continues by saying it here.
Раньше дворяне, как самый высокий класс, говорили только по-французски.
Yeah, so the word in the blank there was самый высокий. So previously, дворяне, so I guess nobility or royalty, как самый высокий, like the most high class, говорил только по-французски, spoke only in French. So I was just going to say, those of you who have read War and Peace probably remember that the royalty, the nobility in that novel spoke French among each other. And in many cases, those people couldn't even speak Russian. They literally didn't know the Russian language of their own country because they were, the elite. They were the upper class, and they spoke French only. So here we see. So the first two lines began with using the formation without самый. They just said величайший, and then this person is using самый. So самый первый, самый высокий, the most first and the most high. So yeah. Again, both work.
А французский философ Вольтер назвал Шекспира гениальнейшим варваром.
Okay, so and the French philosopher, Voltaire, of course, Voltaire, назвал Шекспира, described Shakespeare as a genialnейшим варваром, as a genius barbarian.
Ха, он варвар, а не поэт.
Huh. he is a barbarian and not a poet. I assume meaning Voltaire. They're saying Voltaire was a barbarian and not a poet, which could be debated. I suppose there's a case for saying that. Voltaire was not really, he was more known for his provocations than for his, well, anyway.
Он написал обо всех важнейших событиях своего времени.
So, he wrote about, let's see, the text here is важнейших. So, он написал, he wrote, обо всех, about all, важнейших, the most important, событиях своего времени, events of his time. So he, Voltaire, wrote about the most important events of his time. So важно means important, and here важнейших is plural superlative because событиях is plural of events, and so this is, I believe, plural superlative of важный, important.
И Пушкин тоже.
And Pushkin as well.
Не спорьте. Пушкин – величайший русский поэт, а Шекспир – величайший английский поэт. Хорошо?
Okay, so now the woman is being diplomatic and suggesting a compromise. So these last two words are both the same. They're again величайший. So let's go ahead and put them in. So the compromise she suggests is не спорьте, don't fight or don't argue. Pushkin was the greatest Russian poet, and Shakespeare greatest English poet. Okay?
Ладно, согласен.
Okay, agreed. Ladno is again what you say when you're just kind of conceding, like, okay, I give up. Just yeah, okay, whatever.
Мы еще поговорим потом.
We let's discuss further later. So потом is like after that. So we will discuss later, or let's discuss further. Okay. So yeah, superlative forms. Oymyakon is холоднейший город в России. Oymyakon is the coldest city in Russia. Мороженое вкуснейшая еда для детей. Ice cream is мороженое. Ice cream is the tastiest food for children. That's a matter of opinion, but okay, fair enough. Baikal – глубочайшее озеро в мире. Baikal in eastern Russia is the deepest lake in the world. And Гималай is the высочайшие горы в мире. The Himalayas are the tallest mountains in the world. So there you go, there's that. And then for more, I appear to have an internet connection problem because my internet connection just ate it. Give me just a second, let me try to reload my internet settings here. Sorry, I apologize for the delay. Sometimes my sometimes my Wi-Fi just kind of cuts out. What is going on here? Sorry, my apologies. This happens sometimes, but it hasn't happened while I'm making one of these videos before, so it's just a bit embarrassing. I should probably pause the video, but I'm hoping it won't take too long to get things back on track. Let's see if I just recycle. If I just try to. Okay, it looks like we got it back. I think we're okay now. Let's give this another try. Let's go ahead and try to load the full list of superlative forms. There we go, now it worked. Okay, so yeah, they say the form can be simple or complex. I don't know if that's referring to the use with samly or the form with I don't know which one of these is supposed to be simple and which is supposed to be complex. I can say that in my experience, from what I've seen, I think most Russians use samly because otherwise you have to remember, for every adjective, you have to remember the superlative form, whereas it's easier just to say samly and then add the normal adjective. So that's easier. It's kind of like in German, very few people remember the conjunctive form of every verb. Mostly they just say würde and then the verb. So for those of you who speak German. Right, so here's the formulation of superlative forms. So yeah, you can see it's pretty consistent. Usually you just add ish like that. In this case, it's aish, but that's kind of, I think that's an exception. And then here you have two kind of curious exceptions. Самый хороший, the most good, is the лучший, the best. And самый плохий, the most bad, is the худший, the worst. So, not too difficult, right? I mean, that's, again, kind of mirrors usage in English. So, okay, so now we are going to put our newfound knowledge to use by filling in 10 sentences that use forms of what we've just learned. So let's go ahead and get started. Париж действительно something город в мире. Okay, so in this blank we're supposed to put the superlative form of красивый. Well, город is a masculine noun, so the superlative form of красивый is, for a masculine noun, is красивейший. Yes, I am looking at a reference. So, Париж действительно красивейший город в мире. Paris is certainly the most beautiful city in the world. Зимой у нас погода. So, ужасное means horrible. So we have the most terrible or horrible winter weather. So here we have ужасная, it's feminine, and so, because погода is feminine, of course, ends in an A, and so we'll need to use the feminine form of the superlative. So it's ужаснейшая. So instead of ужаснейший, which it would be for a masculine noun, it's ужаснейшая. So, зимой у нас ужаснейшая погода. Снег, метель, сильный ветер. So in winter, we have the most terrible weather. Snow, метель is like a blizzard. And then сильный ветер, strong wind. Computer. So hold on. Удобная means something like convenient or useful. So what's the вещь is like, it's like a thingy, a thing. It's like Zeug in German, but in Russian it's feminine. So we use, that's why it says here удобная, because it's вещь is feminine. So what's the superlative of that? It's удобней. Sorry, I'm suddenly going all over the place. Удобнейшая. Удобнейшая вещь. Компьютер удобнейшая вещь. Легкий всегда со мной. So the computer is the most convenient thing. It's легкий, always with me. Легкий can mean easy or simple, but it also means light in terms of weight. Like if something is not heavy, it's легкий. So I don't know if they mean here that it's легкий in terms of its mass, or do they mean it's easy? Either way, this person really likes computers and thinks that the computer is the most useful thing or the most convenient thing. Okay, это был something день в моей жизни. So I guess, okay, плохой. So it was the worst day of my life. День is masculine, that's why it says плохой here. So what's the superlative form of that? Remember, it's худший. Худший. Это был худший день в моей жизни. It was the worst day in my life. Все было плохо. Everything was bad. Okay. And хороший is obviously the opposite. It's the best. So here we have лучший. Лучший мой подарок – это ты. Um, the best of my gifts is you, or you are the best of my gifts. Well, that's sweet. That's a very sweet thing to say. Okay, Novgorod Stary. Okay, so Stary means old, and we saw already the superlative form of Stary is Stary Shi. Novgorod Starейший город России. Novgorod is the oldest city of Russia. После рождения сына я something человек на земле. Счастливый is happy. So, what is the superlative form of happy? Somebody who is the happiest. Счастливейший. There we go. После рождения сына, after birth of son, I guess after the birth of my son, я счастливейший человек на земле. I was the happiest person on earth. Мой дедушка, умный человек, он все знает. So my дедушка, my grandfather, is the smartest. So what's the smartest? We saw before a person said of their child, they said самый умный, but here we don't use that form. We use умнейший. Мой дедушка умнейший человек, он все знает. My grandfather is the smartest person. He knows everything. Dnieper. Okay. Широкая means wide. Reka, river, is feminine. So Dnieper is the Sirochai. Shirachaya reka na Ukraina. You can see why Russians usually use samly, because remembering all these forms for different adjectives can get a little bit tiresome. Even native Russian speakers, I think, often don't memorize these for all the different adjectives in the language. But anyway, this is Dnieper, which is that famous river, that famous river in Ukraine. Dnieper. Shirachayshaya reka na Ukraina. The Dnieper is the widest river in Ukraine. And also, I think, the most culturally important river, just as the Volga probably is in Russia. Okay, and finally, такая болезнь, редкий. So, редкий means rare, but what is rarest? It's redчайший. There we go, and everything is correct. Такая болезнь редчайший случай в врачебной практике. Such an illness or medical condition is the rarest in medical practice. I apologize again for my typing. I do not have a Cyrillic keyboard. I'm typing using a Latin-based keyboard. I'm just trying to remember where the Cyrillic letters are, so I can't actually see where letters are, so I just have to kind of try to remember. Sometimes I have to hunt around a little bit to find the one I'm looking for. Okay, so now we have the same thing, but we rephrase things. So all of these exercises, you can see, they begin with a word like samly, or here samoya because it's neuter, and here it's samaya because it's feminine. But they all begin with samoy, or a conjugated form of it. And we need to rephrase that in terms of the superlative that we just did in the previous exercise. So this should be pretty easy as long as we know the correct words, right? Yeah, so, for example, самое глубокое озеро is Baikal. The most deep lake is Baikal. Or we could say глубочайшее озеро Baikal, deepest river Baikal. So, самое высокое дерево секвоя гиперион. В ней 115 метров 24 сантиметра. So, the most tall tree is the Giperion sequoia, I guess the Hyperion sequoia tree, which is 115 meters and 24 centimeters. That is a fairly tall tree, actually. Okay, so what's самое высокое in the other form? It is высочайшее. It's interesting. I'm just realizing it ends in EE, and so it looks like a comparative form. It looks like it says taller tree rather than tallest. It looks kind of like taller, but apparently that's what they're looking for here. Высочайшее дерево, Sequoia Giperion. The tallest tree is the Sequoia Giperion, or Hyperion, I think it would be pronounced in English. Okay. Самый широкий мост в мире – синий мост через реку Мойку в Санкт-Петербурге. So the most wide bridge in the world is the Blue Bridge over the river Moika in St. Petersburg. Is that true? Okay. Most wide bridge in the world is the Blue Bridge over the river Moika in St. Petersburg, Russia. Его ширина составляет 907.3 метра. So it's, or his width is 97.3 meters. Интересно, что ширина моста в 3 раза больше его длины. So interestingly, it's interesting that the width of the bridge is 3 times its length. So it's not a very long bridge, because the Moika is not the big river in St. Petersburg. The big river in St. Petersburg is the Neva, and the Moika is actually more like a canal. It's actually I remember because I used to work on the Naberezhnaya Moika on the street that runs along the Moika, and it's like a small canal. It's not a huge river, but they made that bridge really very, very wide. I don't remember the particular bridge that they're talking about. I must have seen it, but it just didn't stick out in my memory somehow. Anyway. Okay, синий мост через реку Мойку в Санкт-Петербург. So the Blue Bridge over the river Moika in St. Petersburg. And now we need the superlative form of широкий, which is широчайший. There we go. Shirachaishi most, widest bridge in the world, but they don't say here of Miria, they just say widest bridge. Okay, moving on. Самый длинный телесериал в мире, the most long teleserial. So, I guess television serial or television series, I guess the Russian word for television series is teleserial. Самый длинный телесериал в мире, the longest television series in the world, американский сериал «Путеводный свет», is the American serial or American series. Путеводный, put is like a way, so it's like the way showing light. In English, of course, many of you probably know, it's Guiding Light. The American title of the series is Guiding Light, but in Russian it's translated as Путеводный свет. Его длина составляет более 16 тысяч серий. So its length is more than 16,000 episodes. Премьере этого сериала было... Wow, really? Okay, so the premiere of the series was in the year 1937. Wow. I did not realize that. Okay. So, serial Путеводный свет, the serial or series Guiding Light, and now we need the, длинный, long, we need the superlative form of that. That is длиннейший. There we go. Длиннейший телесериал в мире. The longest television series in the world. Okay. Interesting. We're not only learning superlative forms, we're learning some interesting facts and figures about bridges and television series. Okay, самый старый город в мире, столица Сирии Дамаск. So, the most old city in the world is the capital of Syria, Damascus. Of course, in English we call it Damascus. Stolica is the word for capital city. Stolica means capital city. So capital city of Syria, Syrii, Damascus. Первые упоминания о городе были сделаны в 3005 год до нашей эры. So the first mention of the city was in, you can probably guess that's 2500 BC or BCE. So, Damask, so what's the superlative form of old? We've seen it already. Starei. Старейший. Damask старейший город мира. Damascus is the oldest city in the world, or of the world. Самая богатая собака мира. Немецкая овчарка Гунтер 3, I guess, I don't know how you'd say the third. Tretty, I guess, but I don't know if you say Tretty in this case. So the most rich dog in the world is the German, I believe that's German Shepherd. So Niemiecka means German, and I believe Niemiecka ovcharka means German Shepherd, like the dog breed. Gunther III, Gunther III is the richest dog in the world. После смерти своей хозяйки Карлоты Liebenstein, Гунтер III получил в наследство около $65 million. So after the death of his owner, Carlotta Liebenstein, Gunther III inherited a sum of about $65 million. So that makes Gunther III the richest dog in the world. And what's the superlative here for richest? It is богатейшая собака мира, richest dog in the world. The Russian word bog means God, and so I sometimes interpret this word because bogati means rich. I sometimes interpret it as something like meaning blessed by God. It's probably not meant to invoke God, or maybe it is actually. Let's see. I'm just curious. What is the origin of bogati? Does it come from God? Because in excuse me, in Serbo-Croatian, there's a name Bogalup, which means something like blessed by God, because Bog is, of course, God in Serbo-Croatian as well. So, it didn't find it, probably because I need to, because it's the feminine form, it would probably be under Bogati. Yeah, it's under Bogati, the masculine form. I'm just curious, what's the origin here? Okay, so it's from Old East Slavic Bogat, but it doesn't actually say whether it derives from God. Okay, I don't know. I just thought it might. Anyway, okay, let's move on. Самый острый период в мире – это период Бут-Джоколика. Jolokia. Sorry. But-Jolokia. The острый, like, in this case, it means spicy. Most spicy perets, pepper in the world, It is the pepper Budjolokia. Вид перца чили, который растет в Assam, India. So, type of perza chili, a type of chili pepper, which grows in Assam, India. So, what's the superlative form of ustri? Spicy. It is. Whoops, wrong keyboard. Ostre, Ostreishi. Ostreishi perec v mirie, spiciest pepper in the world, is the Budjokolovia. Okay. Somehow I don't think that we're really expected to memorize all of these at this point. I think even native Russian speakers might pause if you ask them, what is the superlative form of ostry? Ostry. Well, it's not a spiciest. That's not a word you use every day. Especially not in Russian, where I think Russian food is not known for being especially spicy. Okay, самая редкая книга в мире знаменитая Библия Гутенберга. So the most the most rare book in the world is the знаменитая, the famous Biblia Gutenberga, the Bible of Gutenberg. So Gutenberg, when he published the Bible, I guess it's now the rarest book in the world. И это первая печатная книга. It is the first printed book. That's true, because of course Gutenberg was famous for inventing the printing press. So it's so Gutenberg's Bible was the first printed book, которая была напечатана okay, so it was first printed in the year 1456. So Biblia Gutenberga is the rarest, but what's rarest? It's redчайшая, because kniga is feminine. Redчайшая книга в мире, rarest book in the world. Okay. Самый грязный город в России, so the most dirty city in Russia is Norilsk. Norilsk is, I've mentioned it in a previous lesson, I remember. It's that city in the north of Russia, which is mostly a mining town, and it is quite polluted because of all the mining that goes on there. It has a lot of dangerous minerals and things that have been mined out of the ground. It's contaminated. The land around it, a lot of the trees around there are dead or dying because of all the mineral pollution and that's been dug up into the surface soil. Anyway, Norilsk. So what's the superlative form? The dirtiest. It is the грязнейший. Norilsk — грязнейший город России. Norilsk is the dirtiest city in Russia. Okay. And finally, самый комфортный город для жизни в 2011 году. So the most comfortable city for living in the year 2011. Австралийский Мельбурн. The Australian Melbourne. Okay. So Melbourne, what's the superlative form of comfortable? So the comfortablest, most comfortable. There's no such word in English as comfortablest, but here you have a Russian word meaning that. Комфортнейший. There we go. Melbourne, комфортнейший город в мире. Melbourne is the most comfortable city in the world. Okay. Some of those forms, I think, are not well known, and you don't need to memorize all of them, but hopefully at least you understand the point. I think the point is pretty clear. It's not very difficult, I think, to understand the basic idea here. Okay, we have two ancient Greeks looking at a platter of food, and this story. Языпов язык. I need to confess before we begin, I don't think I quite understand this story. I remember there was a story I told about two guys who wanted to drive past each other in their cars in a narrow driveway some time ago, and I think I didn't quite understand the punchline to the story. I'm going to confess right now, I don't think I quite understand the Aesopov язык. I should clarify right off the top, just because otherwise it might not be necessarily clear. Aesop. Aesop is what English speakers also call Aesop. So you know Aesop's fables, the famous storyteller. Of course, Aesop's fables are famous all over the world. So Aesop is what they call him in Russian, and Aesopov is an attributive form. So it's basically like Aesopian. The rest of the story, well, let's listen to the story first and try to interpret it.
Эзопов язык. В древние времена в Греции жил один богатый человек. И был у него раб, которого звали Эзоп. Однажды хозяин сказал Эзопу, чтобы он приготовил самое лучшее, что есть в мире, потому что вечером придут его друзья на ужин. Вечером, когда друзья богатого человека пришли в гости, Эзоп приготовил язык. И хозяин спросил его, почему это самое лучшее? Эзоп ответил, что может быть лучше языка? С его помощью люди разговаривают, говорят о любви, о своих чувствах, приветствуют друг друга, решают проблемы. Нет в мире ничего лучше, важнее, красивее языка. Этот ответ понравился хозяину и гостям. Через неделю хозяин сказал Эзопу, чтобы он приготовил самое худшее, что есть на свете. Когда гости пришли, Эзоп приготовил язык. И хозяин очень удивился и спросил, почему снова язык? Эзоп ответил, что может быть хуже языка? Язык может начать войну, сделать людей врагами. Он может убить, обмануть, предать. Нет в мире ничего хуже, страшнее, злее и хитрее языка. И этот ответ снова понравился хозяину.
Okay, so I'd like to remind everyone, I think I've said this many times before, but I'll bring it up again. This word язык is a noun meaning both language and tongue. So I think in this story it means a literal physical tongue, because it's talking about food, and he's holding up this platter of food, and I think he's cooked a tongue on it. But there is probably something appropriately Aesopian in the fact that it also means language. So maybe keep that in mind, or maybe don't. Maybe it's not critical to the meaning of the story. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the story again and try to interpret it as the woman reads it.
Эзопов язык.
So Aesopian could be interpreted as Aesopian language or Aesopian tongue.
В древние времена в Греции жил один богатый человек.
So, в древние времена, in ancient times, in Greece lived one rich person.
И был у него раб, которого звали Эзоп.
And there was, or he had a slave. A rab is a slave. So he had a rab, a slave, who was named Aesop or Aesop.
Однажды хозяин сказал Эзопу, чтобы он приготовил самое лучшее, что есть в мире, потому что вечером придут его друзья на ужин.
Okay. Однажды, one day, хозяин, the master, told Aesop to prepare the best thing that there is in the world, because вечером, in the evening, are coming his friends for dinner. His friends are coming for dinner in the evening.
Вечером, когда друзья богатого человека пришли в гости, Эзоп приготовил язык.
So, in the evening, when the friends of the rich person came в гости as guests to visit, Aesop prepared tongue.
И хозяин спросил его, почему это самое лучшее?
And the host asked him, why is that the best? Самое лучшее, the most best. Why is that the best?
Изоп ответил,
Aesop answered,
что может быть лучше языка?
what can be better, or what could be better than tongue?
С его помощью люди разговаривают, говорят о любви, о своих чувствах, приветствуют друг друга, решают проблемы.
So, with it, people discuss or talk about people talk to each other. They talk about love, about their чувств, about their feelings. They приветствуют, they say hello to each other or greet each other. Решают проблемы. They solve problems.
Нет в мире ничего лучше, важнее, красивее языка.
Nothing in the world, nothing is better or more important or more beautiful than the tongue.
Этот ответ понравился хозяину и гостям.
And this answer pleased the master and the guests. I don't think that's how food works. I don't think that you can. I think today, as we've seen, computers are pretty important. So you could serve somebody a computer for dinner, and say, well, a computer is pretty important, but I don't think it would be very palatable to their palates. Yeah, but it's a story. I think the story is apocryphal, but let's see.
Через неделю хозяин сказал Эзопу, чтобы он приготовил самое худшее, что есть на свете.
Через неделю, in a week, the master asked Aesop to prepare the worst thing. This wonderful Russian phrase, na svete. It literally means something like on the light, but figuratively it means like in the world. It's kind of like how in English sometimes you say under the sun. This is the worst thing under the sun. So it's kind of like, yeah, this is the worst thing in the light, in the sunlight, but it means in the world. It's the worst thing in the world.
Когда гости пришли, Эзоп приготовил язык,
When the guests arrived, Aesop prepared tongue.
и хозяин очень удивился и спросил, почему снова язык?
And the master was very удивился, surprised, и спросил, and asked, why again tongue? Снова meaning again.
Эзоп ответил, что может быть хуже языка?
Aesop answered, what could be worse than tongue?
Язык может начать войну, сделать людей врагами. Он может убить, обмануть, предать.
The tongue can start wars, or a war. Сделать людей врагами. Turn people or make people into enemies. It can kill, deceive, and betray.
Нет в мире ничего хуже, страшнее, злее и хитрее языка.
Nothing in the world, nothing can be worse or more cruel and more cunning than the tongue.
И этот ответ снова понравился хозяину.
And this answer again pleased the master. So he's just kind of like, make something really great. Okay, I'll make tongue. Wow, what a great response. Okay, make the worst thing. Okay, here's tongue. Whoa, what a great thing. Dude, this Aesop is just, he's really on the ball. He brought his A game with him. He brought his A cook game with him. Okay, Aesopov язык. So the Aesopov язык, the Aesopian язык, which again, in this context could be interpreted as tongue or language. What is it? Is it the язык раба Эзопа? Is it the язык of the slave Aesop? Язык, который приготовил Aesop? Is it the язык which was prepared by Aesop? Or is it the непрямое выражение мысли? Is it the Неправильно, indirect expression of thoughts or ideas. Well, it's kind of all of those, isn't it? Because a language is an indirect expression of ideas. Language is an imperfect means of communicating thoughts in the mind. The words that you speak or write or hear or read do not perfectly map to the thoughts in the person's head. So technically, I guess any of these could be considered correct, but I'm pretty sure the answer they're going for is the second one. It is the язык that was prepared by Aesop. Actually, no, I'm just looking at my notes. Apparently, they're expecting the third answer. So I guess they are actually going for the metaphorical interpretation. So they are going not for the literal interpretation, but the metaphorical interpretation that the язык is actually an imperfect or indirect expression of ideas. Okay, this lesson suddenly ends on a very philosophical note. Okay, and this question is just it's kind of like one of those jokes where it's like, okay, here's the question, and then this is one answer, there's another answer, and then the third answer is literally 3 or 4 times longer than the others, and you think, well, okay, it's got to be that one, right? So, язык — это самое лучшее, что есть в мире, потому что, so tongue, or язык, is the best thing that there is in the world, because, 1, он вкусный, it's delicious or tasty. 2, он быстро готовится, it can be quickly prepared or can be quickly cooked as food. Pretty sure it's not either of these. So the correct answer, of course, is с его помощью люди разговаривают, говорит о своих чувствах, приветствуют друг друга. With him, with the tongue, people can talk to each other, they can talk about their feelings, and they can say hello or they can greet each other. Obviously, it is the third option. And it's not too difficult to guess that the case is the same for the third question here. Язык — это самое худшее, что есть в мире, потому что... So язык is now, it's the worst that exists in the world because, first option, я vegetarianец. I am a vegetarian. Okay. Number 2, очень дорого стоит. It's very expensive, or it costs very much. I don't know, maybe these two could apply, but of course the answer they're looking for is язык может начать войну, сделать людей врагами, он может убить, обмануть, предать. The tongue can start a war, turn people or make people into enemies. It can kill, deceive, and betray. Well, that's obviously the answer that we learned from the story. And there we go. With that, lesson 52 is complete. What a story, Mark. Okay, so yeah, that was pretty awesome. That was kind of difficult. I feel like lesson 52 was a little difficult, but boy, what a lesson. We really I feel like we really learned a lot, and we actually learned some fascinating things. Like this whole thing here about different facts and figures about like the widest bridge in the world and the longest television serial and all this stuff. Boy, what a lesson. And then this story about Aesop's tongue at the end, which I'm still not quite sure how to interpret, because I still, well, obviously, based on the first answer to the first question, obviously there is a metaphorical or metaphysical or figurative meaning to the story, as well as always the literal one. Obviously, this is not a true story. Obviously, it's an apocryphal story. It is probably one of Aesop's fables. But man, what a story! That can be a conversation starter. This story is a conversation starter for sure. This time for sure. Okay, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that for now. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been lesson 52 of Learn Russian. Thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed. And I will see you next time for more of Russian. Until then, пока-пока.